Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com. You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company, this is the Dog Driver Show. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert Forto and Kurosh Parto.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Robert and I'm here with my co-host KP and we are the Dog Driver Podcast. And today we have a guest calling in from France. KP, who do we have?
So usually we have, as you know, Robert, sled dog drivers in monosport or in open class, limited, super sprint, and all of that. But once in a while, I have people who are in the innovation and do different stuff. Today we have actually someone from Estonia who lives in France, and his name is Indrek Rbnd. And he is the founder of a company called Lumac. And Indrek, welcome to the show, and tell us who you are and how you started in this sport.
Hello, guys. Yeah, I'm Indrek, and I started quite simply. My family got Alaskan Malamute. That's not like a super sled dog, as you know, but it kind of got me started. I started researching like what can we do with this kind of sled dog, and started to train it a little bit. But you know, these showline dogs, they're not much of a puller. So I decided that okay, I'm going into the sport now, and then I started researching where to get like a proper sled dog, and that took me to Sweden to a guy called Taisto Tornius, and he was like willing to sell me a Alaskan Husky that had actually quite heavy background from Iditarod dogs, like Doug Swingley lines, and was it Martin Boozer or something like that? And that's shortly how I got started.
And that was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, roughly a bit more, but who's counting the months, you know?
And how did you start to think about producing sled dog equipment?
Well, that was a bit kind of you can say like a happy accident. Because I ended up working for the same guy, this Taisto, and my background is like in metal works and CAD drawing and stuff like that. So I was thinking that, you know, I can do it. Maybe I can make some extra income, and actually there developed a need, firstly for brake clothes for sleds, because we kind of had a bit issues stopping these big teams with these huge sleds, you know, like 500 kilos. I don't know how many pounds it is, but it's like 4 or 5 persons plus the guide on the same sled. And that was the first project when I made my soon-to-come wife new brake clothes for her sled, so she can be safe and secure driving these tours.
As an engineer and the CAD user, you use basically your knowledge of engineering to design the brake first. That was your first project?
Yep, that was the first one.
And then what was after that? What did you start to make after that?
Well, after that, we kind of went harder on this, like all the safety concept and things that, okay, why not to try an anchor, that you get stopped, but then you need to stay stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And, these high-strung dogs, they kind of banging into the harness and creating this kind of like shock loads and stuff. And the kind of traditional anchors, they don't really like this stuff. So you need to have something really sharp, especially on ice that goes quite deep and kind of has a good attack angle, so it really stays there. And that was the second project. And after I went harder on the lines, because that's like the next part of the system, that if you connect the anchor to your lines, the lines need to hold up, and that's how it kind of kept rolling and rolling. And
so I want you to talk about each one of these items, actually, because I'm a technology freak. I love technology, and I use very fine-tuned equipment in my gear, from sled to the harness to the line. I'm very picky about it. So tell me, first I want you to tell me about your hooks and how you design them and how you make them and what type of steel you use and how you prepare your product that you sell to mushers.
One sec, I took a few notes because it's quite a big question, so I can try to focus here and not to go all over the place, because about my hooks, I put maybe some hundreds of hours of work, of like drawing work into this stuff, and I can talk a long time, but so roughly my idea is that item or like a product needs to serve a very narrow spectrum of like things that it has to do. So if I design a hook, I think, okay, we have ice, then we need a hook that is more aggressive. It's about the initial attack angle that will like grab the ice and pull it like deep to the ground, and then we need certainly some surface that will start stopping the sled. It's not only about the tips, and on our hooks it's the shovel part, or how do you say, the back part of the hook, that kind of the blower. This it's designed to drive the hook to certain depth, you can say, but it allows the snow to go like through the anchor, so it doesn't get stuck, because sometimes when you have it's kind of like a slushy conditions and stuff, the snow blocks like inside to the anchor, and then it tends to jump out. So our anchor has between the blow and the handle quite big space, so the snow can kind of flow through there, but still give resistance. That was the first anchor that we designed. And for example, when it goes to the leader anchor, that was the last project. This I designed in cooperation with Norwegian mushers, with Birgitte Næss and Kristoffer Halvorsen. They are like the Finnmark Slubbet 1000 drivers and long stuff. So that was the main priority, was to have very long spikes, very sharp, thin ones. So when you arrive to checkpoint, if it's icy, you can hit the anchor to the icy snow or even ice in some places, I presume. So yeah, you need to have least friction or resistance possible. And when you arrive to a checkpoint with loose snow, you need to have just the long spikes that go as deep as possible with the least effort.
That makes sense. Indrek, how many different type of hook Lumac presents right now? How many of them do you offer?
At the moment, we have 4 of them. We have the front anchor. We have 2 sizes of what at least the Norwegians call the ice anchors, the aggressive, and then we have like a big team anchor that's
like a boat anchor.
Quite big one. It looks like a spaceship.
How much? What type of steel do you use? Is it steel or is it aluminum or titanium or whatever?
No, we don't use aluminium nor titanium because in here titanium is quite hard to get and it's very pricey. And aluminium, it's for this kind of big hooks, for example, like Norbig, it's too soft. And aluminium has some issues with the kind of, when you load it to limit many times, they can kind of just one moment snap, and we don't like it, this factor. So we have a special steel alloy, you can say. It's not the regular steel that you buy from, I don't know, from Iron Market or some hardware shop. This stuff is very hard wearing. It has like a surface treatment and it acts a little bit like a spring. It has like a 14% of bounce back. When you try to bend it, it will deform and take its original shape back. So this is very useful when you do like hard breakings with the anchor, that it kind of absorb a little bit of this first shock energy and then bounces back without getting any damage, of course.
I love listening to that kind of stuff, Robert. It's like I love technical stuff. So what is the weight of that thing? And also, is it welded or is bent?
Our anchors, they are welded.
Okay.
Because this material that we use, it doesn't really like too much bending because of the surface treatment. Or you can say that, I'm not sure about the expression of in English, but I think it's like a forged, or how would you say, like knives when they make it hot and put it to water.
Forged, yeah.
This steel has such surface treatment, so you can bend it until 45 degrees, but not 90. Then it just kind of explodes.
Okay.
And you asked about the weight. Well,
yes.
The Norbig, the biggest one, is 2.5 kilos. I'm not sure how many pounds it is, but for the size, it's not awfully heavy. The smaller one, for example, light, which is kind of the racing anchor for icier conditions and stuff like that. This is 1.2 kilos. So for a steel anchor, it's quite nice result.
3 pounds or so. Yeah, definitely. Do you do all the welding and everything yourself, or you source it out?
No, the anchors we subcontract. Okay. It's our design and like specifications, but the welding we leave to the professionals. Okay. In the beginning I did it, but now unfortunately time is limited and I cannot physically do it.
Yeah, I completely understand. So let's move to the next item that you're specializing in, and that's you mentioned lines. Tell me about Lumac lines. We had some conversation, you and I, separately from the radio show about lines. Tell me what's behind your lines. Well,
the lines, it has kind of warm place in my heart or soul, I think, because I'm kind of I love the fibers and the technology behind the making of ropes. So, and I think that it gives you some seconds of win when you're racing, for example, but for sure it gives safety. That's what many people say when they're using our lines, that, I feel secure. And to have like strong bonds with your dogs and team, you need to have this security and safety and control over them. And that's the driving force behind making the lines, that they need to hold up, they need to be predictable and durable. Eventually it goes back to the price-performance relationship. We focus heavily on making quite light lines, but I don't feel like pushing the envelope to extreme, because, for example, we make our tug lines out of 5mm rope that's 3/16 inch, and it's especially chosen so that you have visibility of your tug lines. It's still quite light, and it has the surface. When you get the tangle in, and it kind of pulls tight around the dog's leg, you still have this surface that doesn't cut straight into the skin and so on. And the same idea goes to main lines, the ganglines. We use mostly for now 6mm. That's 1/4 inch. It's a Dyneema polyester hybrid ropes. It's more than enough strong, but it has, again, this volume and visibility. And also, you cannot forget that the extra diameter, it gives the durability a little bit. You have like more surface that can be worn.
Mm-hmm. For our listeners who are not familiar with the type of line usually used for the sled dog sport, commonly we use cable lines and sometimes cable into poly lines, or just poly lines, or Amsteel Dyneema lines. So Indrek has a new item he is proposing, which looks more like mountaineering lines, actually. Isn't that correct?
Yes. We use a double braid sailing rope, actually, because the characteristics of these ropes, they are much more suitable for dog sledding. And just to mention it, that dog sledding is like in a poor position, because we don't have any ropes that are designed for our sport. Everything is for climbing and sailing and fishing and you name it, but dog sledding does not have any specific rope made. And so for us, the sailing ropes, they have been working the best. The double braid, it has Dyneema inside, and you can imagine that around this Dyneema, it's braided second layer of polyester or polyester hybrid cover with polyester Dyneema, polyester Vectran, or polyester polyamide. It depends. Depends what you want from the line and what you need. It defines the characteristics of this line. And we sew the loop. We sew we sew the loops on the lines, because quite often this kind of ropes, they are not spliceable because they're so tight. You cannot add more rope inside the rope because it's physically impossible. So we sew. And just to mention that if somebody thinks of making knots into the lines, then this is an extremely bad idea, because the ropes, they reduced the rope weight up to 50%. So just take notice of that.
So let me repeat that. So those ropes, you cannot make a knot in them. They have to be sewn. Is that correct?
You can make a knot, but the knot makes the rope so
50%.
much weaker that I don't want to take the risk. Plus, aesthetically, it's not so nice.
Yeah.
And the result with sewn eye, it's much more predictable. You more or less always get the same brake load from the whole line that you have made.
Indrek, on your website and your Facebook pages, I noticed that all your ropes are individually numbered and signed. Why do you do that?
Because actually the fiber ropes, they are not like everlasting, like somebody might think or whatever. But normally the rope manufacturers and the webbing manufacturers, they say that 5 years is the nominal time of using these fiber items. So in my opinion, it's good to like keep that in mind. And when you have this kind of date on the line, then you never miss it. You know what's happening. Plus, on our labeling, there is also the name of the line and the like element position, because our lines, they have longer wheel section than team section. So if somebody is just beginning and they need a new part, then they look and they know exactly what they need. They send us, okay, I need a Keski team element, and I say no problem. We send it to you.
One thing we chatted separately of this interview, we talked about it privately before, is like myself, I don't use sectional lines. I use a one solid line going with all the tugs coming from the gang line directly. How would you do something like that with a line that you cannot splice?
I would just take my fancy sewing machine, create a program, test a hell of a long time, and then sew it.
Your fancy sewing machine. Very good, very good.
But yeah, we intentionally made this quite huge investment to take a strong position in the line making industry to buy this sewing machine. It's a very, very specific machine. You can say that it's limited to some extent, but for us it's like super valuable too.
Indrek, I like KP, am a technology geek, and I really enjoy this conversation that we're having. And I'm sitting here looking at your equipment page on Facebook, and it seems like you're really doing it right. You're taking excellent pictures and descriptions and all of that. I guess my big question to you is, how are you reaching the people that are so used to using the old style? You know, as KP said, everybody has used this same style for decades. How are you reaching the new clients with this new idea?
Well, that I can say that this is the difficult part of the, so to say, business. That masters, they like you said, they have super routine and they don't want to change. So you need to almost beg and convince them to change, to try something new. So we do quite a bit of sponsoring, and we let quite a bit of people test our lines for us, or lines or anchors or whatever we're thinking of making. And this usually brings good feelings, you know. And when the people start using it, then other people see it on races mostly, and that's how it goes. Our Lumak sledding reach is quite small by itself, but it's just the users, you know. The product, it talks by itself, and and I kind of like this way. I don't want to make too much buzz about the things. If the thing is great and it works and it makes somebody feel like, wow, I got the great stuff from these guys, then that's it.
Well, I wish you luck. I think you're doing a great thing for the sport. It always is good to see new innovation. That's how our sport grows for sure. And I think the rest will be history. KP, anything else for our guests before we go?
Indrek, thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting with you. As you know, I'm very passionate about the equipment. I always enjoy chatting with you when you send me messages and following basically what you're promoting. And it's great to have people like you in our sport to innovate. And it's important to us. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, sure. It was a pleasure to share my thoughts with you guys.
Very good. Well, on behalf of our guest and my co-host, this is Robert for the Dog Driver Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
From First Paw Media, this is the Dog Driver Show. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you can see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert Forto and Kurosh Parto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media. Did you know that Alaska Dog Works trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michelle Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dog Works on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.